Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to help you get up to speed quickly. Our mission today, unpacking the really critical stuff in governance, risk, and compliance just from this past week. We'll dig into what went down, maybe why it happened, and most importantly, what you can actually do to stay safer. It feels like there's just so much information flying around in GRC, doesn't it? Hard to know what matters. But, well, this week, some of the headlines were pretty loud. Okay, so let's jump into what happened. The stats around third-party incidents are, well, they're pretty stark. The World Economic Forum says, 98% of organizations had a third-party partner breach in the last couple of years?
Yeah, 98%. It's almost unbelievable. It means basically everyone's been hit indirectly, if not directly. And what's really concerning is the scale we saw just last week. We had a third-party ransomware attack. It compromised 5.4 million healthcare records. That's the second biggest healthcare breach this year.
Wow. Just from one vendor incident.
Exactly. And it wasn't just them. We saw reports about LexisNexis, Risk Solutions, Adidas, ConnectWise, all stemming from vendor vulnerabilities. And if you want to talk cost, the latest IBM report. The global average cost of a data breach is now a record $4.88 million.
Almost $5 million.
Yeah.
Ouch. And it's not only about the data being stolen, is it? We also saw those supply chain disruptions hitting a big health and food distributor because of a cyber attack.
Right. That shows how it cascades. One point of failure can just stop operations cold for lots of different companies down the line.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
But GRC isn't just cyber, right? There was other governance news bubbling up too, like that Justice Department document release sparking these lawfare claims, using legal stuff as a weapon.
Yeah. And the ongoing fight over transparency with that new executive entity, DOGE, was it? The Department of Government Efficiency.
Right, DOGE, trying to figure out if it's even an agency subject to open records. Plus, those whistleblower allegations. Pretty explosive stuff about defying court orders.
It definitely raises the question, why? Why are we seeing so many of these incidents, both cyber and, well, governance related? Sources point to some really critical challenges, especially in managing third-party risk. For one, the threats themselves are evolving. Think supply chain attacks specifically targeting vendor access. That's getting more common. And many companies, they manage thousands of vendors. But the oversight, it's often not real-time, especially for fourth parties.
The vendors, yeah, that gets complicated fast.
It really does. And on the governance side, you mentioned DOGE. That whole situation highlights attempts to maybe operate outside the usual transparency rules, challenges the definition of an agency.
And then you layer on the regulations.
Oh, boy.
It gets really interesting. You've got DORA in the EU, APRA down in Australia, the updated NIS2 directive. It's creating this really complex web of compliance, especially for banks and finance.
Definitely. Plus, everyone's rushing to the cloud, adopting AI, often without really thinking through the new vulnerabilities.
Right, like that source said, flying blind on AI risks. And those whistleblower claims, whether true or not, they point to potential issues with just following the rules, the legal and ethical basics within government.
And another thing we keep seeing is this gap, almost a cultural divide, between the IT teams and the operational technology, the OT folks. That leaves critical infrastructure, power grids, manufacturing plants, quite vulnerable to ransomware, nation-state attacks.
So the CISO role is getting even broader then, having to bridge that gap.
Increasingly, yes.
Okay, so that's the landscape. It sounds challenging.
Right.
What do people need to do? How can you actually fortify your defenses?
Well, first off, robust third-party risk management, TPRM. It's not just ticking a box anymore. It's fundamental. You need really thorough due diligence before you even bring a vendor on board. That's key. And then continuous monitoring. Tools that give you real-time threat detection, not just a snapshot once a year.
Right, makes sense.
And using standard frameworks helps things like NIST or ISO 27301 to make assessments consistent.
And technology must play a big role here. Automation, AI.
Yeah.
They're not just buzzwords.
No, not at all. They're becoming essential, actually, for streamlining how you classify vendors, even for predicting risks before they blow up. Helps speed up response, too.
And clear processes, I assume, like who owns what.
Absolutely crucial. Centralized contract management helps. Clear incident response plans. You need to know who's responsible, from the top floor to the plant floor, especially across that whole extended network of partners.
Got it. So clear accountability.
And for the critical infrastructure piece, like we mentioned, CO2 is taking on OT security. That means bridging the IP/OT culture gap. It means making sure investments actually match how critical the operation is and continuous training for everyone involved.
So wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway here? It sounds like the whole GRC landscape just demands constant attention, doesn't it? You have to be proactive, adapt constantly.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's fundamentally about building trust and resilience, not just playing catch up after the latest breach or scandal. The future really belongs to the organizations, whether business or government, that don't just see these challenges, but actually turn them into opportunities to build stronger, more secure, and frankly, more ethical operations. So maybe the question for you listening is, what one step will you take this week to strengthen your own extended security perimeter?